A special thanks to Richard for that introduction, and also thanks for the opportunity to be able to collaborate on this course and to offer my point of view as a voiceover talent. It's interesting because I actually used to work in instructional design myself, so I've had the privilege and opportunity to see this from both sides of the coin, so to speak. But I thought it might be very helpful for you to hear specifically how we tend to deal with things on the voiceover side of the equation. As a former educator as well, I enjoy recording voiceovers, specifically educational, instructional, e-learning. I would say that about 75 to 80% of my entire workload revolves around educational, specifically e-learning. So this is something of great interest to me because I do so much of it and I thoroughly enjoy it. So just to reiterate and emphasize some of the important things that Richard said that I think are worth noting is that, first of all, let me just say this. A well-written script makes a world of difference from the voiceover talent side of things. Obviously, as a voiceover talent, I want you to help me make the job as easy as possible, but beyond the convenience that it provides for me, it also helps to provide you with A, a better product, B, delivered in a more timely manner. There is nothing that slows a project down faster than the back and forth of seeking clarification on a script. Having the right tone, as Richard said, is very important. And one of the things that I think is helpful from my background, but not every voiceover talent has a background in educational or instructional design, is to help us understand the tone. Because, for instance, safety training will have a completely different tone than an employee onboarding script. With safety, we're dealing with somebody's life, certainly at the very least, their safety. And if it's onboarding, it's all about making people feel welcome and glad they're there. And as a voice talent, our job is to understand not only who we're talking to, but what our role is. And if our role is to warn and to have people heed a message, then we need to approach that completely different than if we're hoping to elicit excitement and a sense of belonging by welcoming them into a company. Another point I wanted to mention is that writing for the ear is different than writing for the eye. And when people write for the eye, they tend to write much longer sentences. And when you're writing for the ear, it does a couple of things. Number one, it helps us because when we are communicating in smaller chunks, it helps us to process the information and to better understand the information and to communicate that information to the audience as well. In addition to that, it helps the learner to better process and understand and to assimilate that information. So it really helps all the way around. And then finally, yes, proofing your script, that's a pretty big deal. And again, it really affects not only the voiceover talent, but it affects your schedule. So every time that we have to stop production of a script because there's something, maybe a mistake that was made or something that doesn't quite make sense to us, oftentimes we will see things that to us even grammatically look wrong, but it's only because we don't understand the terminology that we're dealing with, whereas it would make perfect sense to somebody who was in the know. You're the subject matter expert, but it's our job to sound as if we are a subject matter expert. So any clarity that you can bring would be extremely helpful when recording the script. And then also just keep in mind that you've been doing this presumably for a while, whereas we may know absolutely nothing about the subject matter at hand. But as I just mentioned, our job is to sound as if we are a subject matter expert. So don't assume that we understand acronyms or terms that you've been using and taking for granted for the past decade or two may be completely new to us. So when in doubt, it's always best to share pronunciations, and that will help the workflow move faster and will help us do the best job that we can for you.